Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are taking that stack of sources you shared, specifically 10 really comforting creative recipes, and we're going to extract the essential knowledge behind, well, one of the season's absolute favorites, the sweet potato.
Yeah, our mission isn't just, telling you how to cook them. We're aiming to figure out the hidden nutritional facts, the surprising technical applications, really what elevates this root vegetable from just a simple side dish to, well, a true culinary powerhouse. We want the best insights right from the start.
And the sources really do establish why the sweet potato has earned its place, especially on the holiday table. It's not just the flavor, although that's huge. It's this unique mix of natural sweetness, incredible versatility and texture, and just that sheer ability it has to bring warmth and depth to pretty much any meal. It's kind of the ultimate autumn anchor, really. Okay, so before we even dig into the specific recipes, we really have to lay down the nutritional foundation, because that's where so much of the power lies, right?
hmm
The sources consistently highlight that sweet potatoes are just extraordinarily nutrient-dense, rich in four specific things: beta-carotene, vitamin C, antioxidants, and fiber.
Let's pull that apart a bit because knowing what those nutrients actually do is the key insight here. Take beta carotene, for instance. We all know it gives that vibrant orange color, but functionally, it's a powerful precursor to vitamin A. And that's absolute crucial for maintaining good vision, supporting skin health, and, bolstering the immune system.
Which ties right into vitamin C, obviously another big immune system supporter, especially important now heading into cold and flu season. But I think what often gets overlooked, and the sources really emphasize this, is the fiber component. When we talk sweet potatoes, fiber is kind of their digestive superpower.
Precisely. Yeah, they contain a mix of soluble and insoluble fiber. And soluble fiber is particularly important because, well, when you eat something naturally sweet, like a sweet potato, that fiber helps regulate how those sugars are released into your bloodstream.
Ah, okay.
So this means you get sustained, steady energy rather than that sharp spike and then the inevitable crash you might get from, say, a processed carbohydrate. It's like built-in blood sugar stability.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Armed with that nutritional knowledge, let's move into the first group of recipes: elevating those classic side dishes. We can start with the creamy sweet potato mash. It's positioned as a wholesome upgrade to traditional white potato mash.
Right, and the key insight here is really about ingredient replacement. The goal is creaminess, but without compromising the health profile too much. So instead of relying heavily on like heavy cream or lots of butter, the sources consistently suggest swaps. Things like coconut milk or maybe coconut butter paired with warming spices like cinnamon and just a strategic pinch of sea salt.
I do wonder, though, what's a real advantage of using coconut milk there, beyond just reducing dairy? Is there more to it?
Well, the sources suggest a couple of things. For many people, the type of fat in coconut milk, especially combined with the potato's complex starch, might actually be easier to digest. Plus, it adds the subtle, complementary richness and flavor, almost a tiny bit tropical, that actually works beautifully with the cinnamon. The method's simple. Boil the chunks, mash them up, blend with the liquids and spices, and boom. You've essentially swapped out potentially inflammatory saturated fats for medium-chain triglycerides. It improved the whole nutrient delivery system.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Okay, next up, probably the easiest holiday side, but one that needs a bit of technical understanding: roasted sweet potatoes. The recipe calls for diced potatoes, olive oil, minced garlic, rosemary. Pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, the trick here isn't really the seasoning, which is classic. It works great. The real nugget of information is the cooking temperature. The sources are specific. Roast them at a high heat, 425 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow, okay. High heat.
Yeah, and that high heat is absolutely essential for kickstarting the Maillard reaction. That chemical process where amino acids and sugars react. It creates hundreds of those delicious, complex flavor compounds.
So it's not just about cooking them through, it's about maximizing that caramelization on the outside for crispiness and, well, that deeper flavor. If you roast them lower, you risk just kind of steaming them.
Right.
And you lose that amazing textural contrast.
Exactly. You absolutely want that crunchy, slightly charred exterior while keeping that beta-carotene-rich interior soft and tender. It's all about contrast. So we move beyond just simple sides. We can connect this inherent versatility to creating, full, nourishing meals. Sweet potatoes transition so well from side to centerpiece, partly because their sweetness is more earthy, it's not cloying. This lets them absorb savory, robust spices perfectly.
Which brings us neatly to a real winter staple: the sweet potato and lentil soup. This is where those savory spices really get to shine. We're talking red lentils, broth, carrots, onions. But the depth, the sources say, comes from a generous amount of cumin and turmeric.
And that pairing is definitely intentional. Turmeric gives that earthy, slightly bitter counterpoint, while cumin provides that smoky warmth. When you blend those with the starch from the sweet potato and the bulk from the lentils, you get this deeply nourishing soup. It feels creamy, mostly because of the mashed potato and the blended lentils, yet there's zero added cream. High protein, high fiber, and just packed with flavor.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Moving into more surprising applications in these highly structured meals, let's look at the sweet potato and chickpea harvest bowl. The sources label this as like the ultimate balanced holiday lunch or maybe a meal prep solution. And it sounds like a perfect assembly of components. You've got roasted sweet potatoes, chickpeas, some crunchy kale, quinoa. But the real insight isn't just the list of ingredients, is it? It's the synergy between them.
Absolutely. I mean, think about what you've just put together in that bowl. You've got complex carbohydrates and beta-carotene from the potato, plant-based protein and fiber from the chickpeas and quinoa, extra nutrients and texture from the kale, and then the healthy fat needed for absorption, which comes from the tahini dressing.
Ah, the dressing is key then.
Totally key, because that fat in the tahini is essential. Beta-carotene is fat-soluble, remember. Your body can't properly process it, can't utilize it, without some fat or oil alongside it. So this bowl isn't just tasty, it's literally designed for maximum nutrient utilization and sustained energy. Very clever.
And then we get to what feels like a real savory curveball, sweet potato cornbread. I have to admit, I was a little skeptical when I first saw this one in the sources. Cornbread with sweet potato.
It sounds unexpected, definitely. But the sources promise a result that's really moist and just lightly sweet. Apparently, it's incredible with chili or even that lentil soup we just talked about. And the sweet potato mash isn't just there for flavor, it's actually functional in the baking.
Okay, functional how? What function does it serve in the actual baking process?
Well, it acts primarily as a binder and, crucially, as a moisture retainer. When you use mashed sweet potato alongside the cornmeal, flour, butter, eggs, and baking powder, it helps prevent the cornbread from drying out. That's a really common problem with cornbread, especially if it has a lot of cornmeal.
Right, we get crumbly.
Exactly. So the moisture comes directly from the potato itself, and it offers that subtle sweetness without needing tons of extra sugar. It's kind of the perfect textural solution, giving you a dense, tender crumb instead of something dry.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit now to the big centerpieces, the dishes that are really central to Thanksgiving and Christmas. First up, something incredibly simple but sounds decadent. Baked sweet potatoes with maple pecans.
Yeah, this one seems to emphasize just the inherent beauty of the ingredient itself. You just bake the sweet potato whole, and the topping is basically just toasted pecans tossed with real maple syrup and a little butter. It relies purely on that contrast between the fluffy, cloud-like interior of the potato and those crunchy, sweet, fatty pecans. Simple, elegant, efficient.
And then, of course, the casserole. We have to talk casserole. The sources provided an analysis of the classic dish, but also a blueprint for what they call a healthy casserole upgrade. And this is probably one of the most important nuggets for anyone looking to enjoy that tradition without the massive sugar rush afterwards.
Yeah. The main critique in the sources about the traditional version is, unsurprisingly, the excessive refined sugar content. So the upgrade replaces that primarily with coconut sugar, and it swaps out that classic marshmallow topping for something like an oat or pecan crumble.
Okay, so what's the functional advantage of coconut sugar in this specific application? I mean, isn't it just sugar with maybe slightly better marketing?
That's a fair challenge, yeah. The distinction the sources seem to make is kind of twofold. First, coconut sugar generally has a slightly lower glycemic index compared to refined white sugar, so it might provide a marginally steadier energy curve. But maybe more importantly for flavor, coconut sugar actually retains some notes of molasses and caramel.
Ah, interesting.
Right. And those flavors actually complement the spices, the cinnamon, the nutmeg, much better than the sort of harsh one-note sweetness of plain white sugar. It provides richness, not just pure sweetness.
And I guess the oat or pecan crumble adds texture, plus some complex carbs and fiber back into what's often treated purely as dessert. Makes the whole dish feel more structurally and nutritionally sound.
Absolutely. Then we move to recipe 10, which offers a really appealing plant-forward holiday entree. Stuffed sweet potatoes with cranberries and walnuts. I mean, if you need a gorgeous centerpiece that doesn't involve meat, this combination sounds incredibly festive.
The filling sounds genius. It's this savory sweet mix of sautéed kale, tart dried cranberries, and crunchy walnuts. You combine it with goat cheese for richness, or use a vegan cheese alternative. The colors alone and the textures, the soft potato, the treat cranberries, the crisp walnuts, it sounds perfect for a holiday spread.
That combination is like a little masterclass in balancing flavor profiles. You get the earthiness from the kale, the acidity from the cranberries cutting through, and the richness from the fat and the walnuts. It really highlights how the sweet potato can be this anchor for extremely complex, high-impact flavors.
And then rounding out the 10 recipes, the sources offer the necessary sweet finishes. There's the classic sweet potato pie, focusing on those deep spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla, a holiday must-have for many.
And for something maybe simpler, like an appetizer or just a cozy snack, they give us sweet potato fries with cinnamon salt. So instead of deep frying, you bake the fries until they're crisp using olive oil, and the little twist is this simple but apparently addictive blend of cinnamon and salt. It leans right back into that savory sweet profile we've seen work so well across all these recipes.
Okay, so if we try to connect this all back to the bigger picture,
Hmm.
all 10 recipes, really, from the creamy mash to the savory cornbread, they seem to rely on just a handful of universal flavor secrets to maximize the sweet potato's inherent qualities. The sources did a good job synthesizing these patterns.
Right. Yeah. We identified 4 key methods that kept popping up across these recipes, all aimed at enhancing that holiday flavor. Number one is the almost necessity of warming spices. Cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, ginger, maybe cardamom. These spices are structurally similar in a flavor sense to what's already in the potato. They just amplify it.
Number 2 seems to be about the sweetness delivery system, but using natural options.
Hmm.
Think drizzling with pure maple syrup or honey. It enhances the potato's own natural sugars without totally overwhelming them, avoiding that, cloying effect.
Tip three, which we definitely saw in the roasted potatoes and the stuffed entree, is pairing for aroma, using fresh herbs like sage or thyme. Those earthy, slightly woodsy notes provide that necessary savory depth to cut through the sweetness. It creates balance.
The final critical step, really evident in the casserole and that maple pecan dish, is enhancing richness and texture by toasting nuts, especially pecans or walnuts. That crunch seems essential for breaking up the softness of the mashed or baked potato, gives it another dimension.
It really is fascinating when you look at the complete range of use these sources illustrate. The sweet potato isn't some niche food, it's really a vehicle. It transitions just flawlessly from savory entrees like those stuffed potatoes to healthy upgraded sides like the casserole, even into desserts like the pie, and it's all built on that really robust foundation of beta-carotene, stable fiber, and vitamin C.
Yeah, we've seen how you can mash it, roast it, blend it into soup, structure it into these complex, healthy bowls. And we've discovered that the techniques, like that high heat roasting or the strategic sugar swaps, are often just as important as the ingredients themselves. So now we want you to consider that dual role of the sweet potato, not just as that traditional side dish, but maybe as a vehicle for those essential nutrients like vitamin C and beta-carotene across pretty much every single meal this season. Which unexpected application, maybe the lentil soup, the sweet potato cornbread, or that harvest bowl, will you try incorporating into your cooking first? Until next time, keep digging into those sources.